5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve.
All right. Hey, everybody. How are you? Look at this. My screen's off cue here. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let me remove this. What do we got here? We've got the Angry Corpse guys. Welcome, 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 and happy Friday, people. We're going to have a great day. I have a couple of great guests on. We have myself and the Detroit Madman, and we've got the talented Brenda B and Deems Palmer of the Brenda B Show will be joining us in the second segment. We're going to be talking about all things podcast and things musical and things that we like and things we don't like and people we like and people we fear and loathe and all the good stuff we're doing here on Live with Neve. So I hope everybody's going to have a great weekend. If you're here in the New York area, it is just freaking gorgeous. If you look at the picture behind me, that is it's about like this. It's just a slight bit cloudier, but this was, it's a gorgeous day. It's slightly overcast compared to this, but I'm looking at the water and there's a lot of traffic, which is good. We're here at the shore and there's certainly a lot of people, even this time of year, they come down and have some dinner or do any of the numberless things there are to do here. So I have some interesting news today. We've got a whole bunch of various stories here. We've got one, the top story is Iran and Saudi Arabia have agreed to restore relations. I don't think those will be marital relations, but we'll have to ask them. Hopefully somebody will respect someone in the morning. New York prosecutors invite Trump to testify in hush money investigation as probe nears an end. On and on, that goes on. A jury has awarded an ex-news anchor more than $1.5 million in a discrimination suit against WKUSI. And let's see, another trending stories we have. An older man is grooming a teenage girl in this disturbing but vital film. That's the typical kind of crap that NPR posts sometimes. I mean, do we really need another movie about some pervo grooming a young girl? I mean, really, you know, you can get out sexoffender.com and see if you have any in your neighborhood. And I mean, it's really kind of ridiculous, but I'm going to go ahead and bring Irish on. We're going to be talking about this little video that I appeared in, and we're going to play it. I play a news guy, and I turn into the devil, and then a big heavy metal band is going to come and blast your face off for about 3 minutes. It's going to be a lot of fun, and let me get Irish here, see what he's going on. Irish, how are you, man?
What is going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm excellent. I see you. Your face is frozen, but your lips aren't moving, but that's okay. You're a handsome chap. So what's going on up in Detroit, man? Snow, crime, gangsters, and empty houses?
All of the above and then some, my friend. You know how this stuff goes.
I've been really thinking I should relocate to Detroit, maybe like buy an old factory and turn it into the new Motown.
Don't do it.
What do you think?
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
Don't do it.
Well, you know, we all have hope to do something a little new and different. So are you playing any music?
I'm working on a whole bunch of projects right now, man. I'm reassessing everything that I've got going on, reassessing life in general. And
sure,
instead of swinging a hammer full time, I'm about to go part-time hammer, part-time, madman.
Well, that's the wild man part of life is always the most fun. Usually pays the least, but somehow it seems to overcome. It's the more temporal gratification we achieve from playing music and getting that vibe of the audience. And some of us are just hams, you just like to go out and hang out with people and crack them up if you can.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we all face stuff every day that just makes you crazy. And you know what I mean. I talk to Irish all the
yes,
time.
I do know what you mean.
And no matter what you're doing or how good you are to people, sometimes they'll flake on you. And this is the only thing I can tell everybody. If shit's really driving you nuts, if it's so bad, you're just ready to take your head and 3-point it down the court, just look at the absurdity of the situation you're in. If you got people ragging on you, think about who they are. I mean, if they're nobody, if they're not paying your bills, just don't listen to it. And I encourage people, learn to not give a shit about what people think about you. That doesn't mean be a jerk. It just means do what you do. Do it real good. People don't like it, they won't like it. If they do like it, they'll like it. Look here, we got Bill Poig right down the street. Man, my buddy, what's happening, Bill? You have your gig tonight. Bill is the bass player extraordinaire, Legion of Prague. If you guys like prog rock, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yes, anything that's difficult to play has some classical background to it. They also play some just great long form rock and roll. They're an excellent band, and he's a superb bass player. He's like my new brother from another mother. There's a studio here in town, and I went down to introduce myself and see about perhaps doing the show from there on special events, having the band and the whole deal. And we hit it off well. And Bill's playing. He's playing in Jersey, but it's a little close. It's closer to Philadelphia where he's going. So I will not be attending. The gig is tomorrow. Okay, Bill, why don't you type in exactly the details so that we can share them with the audience. And, we'll have some good stuff going. All right. Well, RuPaul is throwing some shade on drag bands. This is a lovely picture of Ms. Paul or whatever. I'm not sure I don't know quite what. But, don't be mean to people. That's all I'm going to say. You don't have to like what they do or do it. As far as the rest of it, I don't like people who do that crap with kids. So as long as you're an adult, I don't care what you do, man. Go out, dress up.
Themselves, for God's sakes, leave them alone.
Just leave them alone.
Everybody has a fucking opinion, man, about what everybody's doing wrong. Instead of say, hey, this is what you're doing right. How about we try that a little bit?
Well, the thing is, I think there's a lot of people in that community who probably just want to be left alone. They don't want to be on news. They don't want to go out and hammer people and have to go to a kid. People, if you disagree with me, I'm really cool about hearing why. I don't think there's any need. And I'm a father of 3, and there's no way I would take any of my children to a drag show when they're 3. I'd wait until they were 7. No, I'm kidding. That's the old absurdity of it. I mean, really, people, what? Tell me, convince me, change my mind. Tell me why you think that an average child, say anywhere in that age group. I've seen women holding babies. I personally, if you got a baby, the kid's sitting there, he's like, oh, isn't he cute? The kid's like, bleh. I'm sorry, man. All I can say is, why bring your kid to that? I'm the kind of parent, when I had children, when we go out to dinner, they behaved. Did they look at me and think Dad's going to get up and punch him in the face? No. I would just take him and beat him with a birch stick. No, I'm kidding. My kids are they've never got beaten. And I don't know. I don't really believe in corporal punishment unless you have a boy. And you have a boy. Look at that. Great eyes, man. You're looking good, Irish.
I'm getting a kick out of this whole
the stuck thing. Yeah,
it's kind of funny, right?
It's like you're shooting 10 frames per minute or something. It's just gank, jink. It's because we have all the high-tech gear, the most finest in technology here. But now we're going to go back to Bill, and I'm going to read the commercial for you. Yes, Legion of Prague is at Studio 67 in Medford, New Jersey tomorrow. Saturday, March 11th at 7 p.m. Lots of classic prog from Yes, Genesis, Tall, Rush, etc. Tickets available here at https://www.eventbrite.com/e/Legion of Prague at Studio 67, Medford, New Jersey. A 425 horsepower blowout of rock and roll.
You remind me of remember the old monster truck things?
Yes.
Sunday, get on down here to Grave Digger.
You go. Yeah. You remember who Big Daddy Don Garlitz is?
No.
He was a world-renowned dragster guy back in the 60s. Now, when I moved to Florida, as if it wasn't enough of a culture shock from me having
Did we
grown up
just
in
transition from drag queen to dragster?
yes, that's really a
Very
great.
good.
That's a great. That's a great trans. I thought that was a pretty smooth transition, man. You know.
It was nice, man. It was
But
nice.
so back then, I
I
had
think the
no idea.
dragster goes down the road and goes, wee!
Maybe it's a drag. Maybe that's the new thing to get people to watch dragsters again. Is drag queen dragsters? I mean, they've invented a new. I don't know. A new. What do you call it? Well, it's a reality show. There you go.
It
Get
could
a
be
bunch
a
of
thing.
guys like to dress up like girls and get them in hot rods. There was a show once called "Straight Guy for the Queer Eye," a queer guy or something like
Queer
this.
eye for the straight guy, yeah.
Yes. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
It's hysterically funny because you get a bunch of these Billy Bobs come in, and there's this guy, and he's got like little Royal Dalton statues all around. You know, the only reason I know what a Royal Dalton is because I had a gay uncle, and he had lots
Is
of
that
those
like
things.
a dirty Sanchez?
No, it's not quite like a dirty Sanchez. Please,
sorry.
out there, people.
I couldn't help it.
If you don't know what it is, I suggest you need to read the Urban Dictionary
Yeah, don't
because
Google it. Do not Google
don't
Dirty
Google it.
Sanchez.
You'll
And
get all
while you're
kinds of
not
new
Googling
friends.
Dirty Sanchez, do not make hateful comments.
I wonder if we've just talking about that now. If I'm going to start getting all kinds of weird stuff in my email feed, or, you know, I mean, you never know. Fans send some pretty weird shit sometimes, but can I tell you, man? A little less of the hair pie and more of like, you can give us some medical marijuana. We'll distribute it freely to the people who need it. Just enough of the hair pie already, ladies. Jesus, God, man, get a weed whacker and trim that fucking thing. I'm so sorry, people. It's Friday morning.
I started this whole thing, and this is a public service announcement to everybody watching. I do apologize for my indiscretions of riling Neil up. It was after his long-winded introduction of the gig that's going to be playing in it soon. That
It gets people excited, man.
It just slipped away from us. I do apologize.
Well, in other news, let's see. I have a conversation starter here. Let's see. Some young girl. Let's see. Where are the more young girls? More young girls.
Drag
Oh man, they had a
queens, young
picture.
girls, perverts, yeah.
They had
hair
some.
pie.
They had a big old Aborigine type guy. Oh, by the way, if you use Telegraph, people know that Vlad Putin is watching. Yeah. You know, Putin, stuff it up your bung.
I tell you what, man, I will publicly, openly right now, we can stop this whole war thing. Me and Putin in hand-to-hand combat, winner take all.
I agree, man, but you don't want to put him up against Biden. I hate to say it, but old Joe's looking a little frail.
That's why I'm putting me out there, because Joe will crap his fucking diaper before he even gets to the thing and then forget where he's going, end up in China, get into a fist fight with some Japanese guy that's going to kick the shit out of him because he was born and raised in the Taoist fucking monk chapel. It's just all bad for Joe.
That's malarkey. Malarkey, I say. Come on, guys. Poor Joe, man. I really do feel for the guy. I
actually don't, and here's why. Because he's actually the leader of the free world, and he's fucking up some shit right now. And while everybody likes the old guy that's, you know, kind of creepy, kind of funny, I personally don't like the guy. I think.
Do you think he'd come up and sniff on you, man? Do you think?
No,
that's
I think
possible?
he's an absolute nightmare of a human being. I'm very aware of what he did with the justice system back in his earlier career, and he is just an absolute piece of shit.
Yes. I kind of can agree. I don't like any of that sniffing stuff in my family.
Yeah, don't come up and sniff my neck, dude. I'm not fond of it. I don't like it. You haven't bought me a drink. You haven't given me flowers, and I'm quite frankly offended that you haven't.
Well, listen, before we go, we're going to have a little music here, and then we're going to bring on our next guest. So, people, this is the videotape that I'm the host, will say. It was a very, very heavy-duty, heavy metal band. They're called Angry Corpses. I don't know what they're angry about. Maybe their family bought them a shitty coffin. You know,
well, if they're corpses and they're angry,
they were talking about them. We can't afford a coffin. Just throw them in get a goddamn cremation going on. You know, I know how people are, man. People die. It brings out the worst in folks, man. They'll come in there. You're not home. They'll steal all the paintings and jewelry, and you find out it's like your weirdo brother-in-law. You know, the guy that you'd never liked since he married your sister, but. Getting back to Angry Corpses, we're not going to play the whole song, although it's only 1:34, so we're going to play it. We're going to be back with Brenda B of the Brenda B Show, and we're going to have all kinds of fun. So stick around, and here's some Angry Corpses. We'll figure out what they're angry about.
They're dead.
Oh.
Of course they're angry.
Hold on, it's giving me slight... Okay, and now let's get rid of us, and let's bring this. An unprecedented event. Every president, prime minister, monarch, self-appointed dictator met to discuss the globe's current situation. They also issued a statement that was short and concise and left no room for interpretation. Their statement, and I quote, "We give zero fucks."
Politics, the topic of discussion every day. That's all we hear, that's all we see, the bullshit that they say. All media, all presidents, all on the Russian staff. The Senate in the House, shove it up your ass. You think that things will change for you, you're not part of the clique. Red, white, black or blue, you're on the big old stick. You're wasting time and energy, won't sleep, crap all night. Right or left, fuck that shit, it's all a waste of time. When will you wake and see that you've been sucking your whole life? The less you give a fuck, the happier your life. We give zero fucks, we give zero fucks, we give zero fucks. We give zero fucks. Zero fucks are always fucking us.
Well, they are some genuinely friendly and nice boys. What do you think, guys? That was some crazy shit, eh? Wow. I mean, to tell you, that kind of got me all like, I'm scared of people all of a sudden. But so there you have it, folks. That was some pretty, that was hardcore, man. Wow. What do you think of that, Bill? National Speedway. Yeah, we have a fan, our friend, he really enjoyed the drag queen gangsters bit. I don't know, you may have created a trend there, Irish. All right, everybody. So we've got our guests who will be joining us, two new guests. I've been friends for a long time. We've been treading around doing various entertainment ventures in the New York, New Jersey area. And I'm going to bring on Brenda B and Deems Palmer to join me. And this great grotesque saturnalia of sound and music.
Hello, hi, Neve.
What's happening? How are you?
Oh, thank you for having us on the
morning
show
to
today.
you.
Top of the morning to both of you. Brenda, you're in Florida, I understand. Where at in Florida?
Northport virus, visiting mom.
Oh, you're in Northport. How the neighborhood? Is it pretty screwed?
Oh yeah, everybody really. I don't think too many people escape, Neil.
Right. I know my parents live in Sarasota, so I get the whole lay of the land, and I lived there for 50 years, so I know. Florida's like my adopted home state. I grew up in New Jersey, but you know, I go down there in the winter. I hate Florida. Don't get me wrong. I love my friends. I love the family, but the heat is what gets me. I like the seasons. You know, that's why everybody said when I moved back to New York, they're like, "Are you an idiot? If you're gonna go somewhere with music, at least go to LA. The weather's warm." You know. But I had some friends here, and so here I am. And Deems, are you a native of the area too?
Yes, I am. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I hear you very well.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I was born in lovely Hatboro, Pennsylvania, but I've lived in South Jersey until I moved to the NEPA.
Okay.
So that's where I am now. So I am a native of the area. Yeah.
Okay. And did you grow up in Florida, Brenda?
Oh no,
I didn't think so. You don't seem like no.
No, I've never enjoyed the good life till now.
Okay. Well,
Seriously, Neil, it's a different lifestyle here.
absolutely.
The people are different. They're nice and mostly hospitable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. But let's not talk about that. I am dying to talk about something you said earlier.
All right, take it away.
All right, I wrote down a note because I really am attentive to everything you say. But first of all, I was thinking that we were going to interview each other today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk about you.
Okay, I'm an open page, an open book within reason.
well,
I can't talk about my animal fetish habits, but other than that,
well, no, I'm not going there.
Good. We'll keep it all positive and Disney World oriented.
But actually, that's what I like best. But we were talking earlier about our careers and how we started. And actually, I think all three of us started at the same time during COVID. We really got into it. And I got into it to keep in touch with my family and friends. And it was just so dismal being
right.
But and then Deems lived nearby, and we stopped. We both knew we were safe. We didn't have COVID. But tell me why you got into it.
Well, it's kind of silly. My girlfriend was home for the weekend, and it was just odd. We were just laying in bed, and she looks at me. She goes, "You got to find something to do with yourself. You're driving me nuts. You don't have a band. You're not doing anything. You can't go anywhere." So I'm sitting here. I got a beautiful house. Great life. I'm wandering around. I'm in the studio writing misery songs because I'm miserable. I can't go out and hang. I was in the middle of sessions for a record, and I called up to finish the last bit of one song. I had to go in and cut in one piece. Go in, I get the thing all done, but that one piece is still not done. And I called somebody and said, "Hey, come to the studio." And they said, "No, we have to shelter in place." I'm like, "The fuck is that? I got the studio. It's empty. I've rented it." And then he goes, "I know you. You're going to come down here. You're going to book me for an hour, and you're not going to leave till 2 a.m. I know you. And you won't let us eat lunch." I said, "Well, my reputation precedes me, but I had to sit at home." So with all that going on, I think really I was probably in kind of a bastard mood. Not taking it out on her, but the kind of mood you get into where it's like COVID. Every day you're getting phone calls. People are dying. Friends of yours are sick. You're worried sick. And you can't do nothing about it. So I'm sitting in the house steaming and seething, and I need things to do. As you can tell, I'm a very calm, relaxed individual. And what happens is, if I don't have a project or something to be very focused intensely on, I'm probably a pain in the ass to anybody who deigns to have a relationship. So she says, "You need a job. What are you going to do?" I'm laying in bed thinking, can think of something else right now. But no, I said, "I'm going to start a radio show on Monday." She looks at me. She goes, "Right?" I said, "No, I'm really, I don't." And she goes, "Well, what do you know about it?" And I said, "Well, I've been on the radio hundreds of times, back in the day, over the years. I've had the opportunity to be on radio with various friends of mine. So I didn't think it looked too hard. And it's harder than it looks, as I know you will.
Yes.
I had high hopes of doing a show a day, every day, and I was going to be the next big Johnny Carson of our era.
Oh, well.
No, it hasn't happened.
Pretty darn good.
Oh, you know what? If I'm having fun, I assume the audience is having some level of fun or amusement.
Well, you know how I don't know if you recall, but we met when I asked you if you would be a drummer for my band.
Right, because you had a band you knew Paul. How did you know Paul Neumann? I'm just curious. Hey, Deb.
How did I know Paul? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, actually, being a promoter, Paul was promoting a wonderful, wonderful people. Did you meet Steve and Karen area?
Oh yeah. They were here in town for a while.
Well, that's how I met Paul. Paul asked. They were touring and they were recording. I think I don't know if they were recording in New York or whatever. And Paul gave me a buzz and said, "Hey, Brenda, we have that Stephen and Karen in town,
right?
And we're going to come stay with you." And
I had them play at one of our gigs because we had short notice and had to get an opening act. So I was like, "Hey, you guys are in town. Come on, you're going to come on and do an hour. Come on, we'll pay you."
Oh my God,
they're great.
Well,
nice.
They're so great, aren't they? Well, we sat down all night long with another musicians that we had the friends with, and we just played. Jan and her friend Warren, we just played music all night long. But that's how I met Paul, from that experience. Now, here's what you said that I want to talk about, though. Okay.
Oh, okay. Take it away.
Okay.
So kind of a weird feeling being actually asked questions.
Oh, come on. That's what we agreed.
It's okay. But no, I know. It's fine. I'm an open book.
Well, so am I, but sometimes I shut the pages.
Well, you have to be careful who you show certain pages of certain books. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you said something long ago. We're all musicians, but I think that actually you and Deems have the more deserving of the title than I ever could. My life was devoted to raising my son and being a businesswoman,
Sure.
and that's actually how I got into it.
hmm
I,
Without having you as a businesswoman, it probably would have never happened because it takes a certain kind of business savvy. At least one person in the band has to have an idea that this is a business and not just a bunch of nuts.
oh God, you can
No,
have Deems.
herding cats.
I fired somebody 2 weeks before a gig.
That happens.
A talented musician, and he did not respect my role enough, because my direction was basically always going to be towards video, towards to bringing my bands out into the public, and he didn't like to be photographed, and I said sorry. Right, Deems?
Oh yeah.
Cheers.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Neil,
No, you have no right to. She wanted to share a live rehearsal, and like the musicians were, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't share a live rehearsal. It's not perfect. And it's just like, take a look at YouTube now. There's so much stuff that's so much fun that's not perfect.
It's funny because there's a couple of ways to look at it, and that is one perception people have.
Right.
Other people, like me, I hate to leave money on the table, and I think that one thing about that is you can get in your fan club. It's weird. Toby can't see the show. Gina, are you? Anybody out there watching? Irish, can you see the show? Just nod your head or type in. I hope they can see the show, but that'll be interesting if they can't, to see how it translates as radio versus with the appeal of all of us.
Old school.
I like radio and
I
having,
do too.
you know, it's a dying art too.
Yes.
When Julie was working with me, we were going to do a redo of the War of the Worlds, but a modernized up version. And
Cool.
we did quite a bit of it, and then she left. She had some other things that came up. But yeah, like Mitch was talking, live streaming a rehearsal. Say you have a Patreon account. People pay you $5 a month just to be part of your club, and you send them things. Get them a secret handshake and a decoder ring, all the cool stuff that keeps people in the club. But streaming rehearsals, like Mitch is a bass player out in California, in LA. Irish can see Toby. I'm not sure. Maybe log out and re-log in. I can see it here on my secondary monitor that it's playing on Facebook. I can see, said the blind man.
Well, finish your thought, because that's going to lead right into my question that I have for you from the previous conversation.
Well, I kind of rambled on, so I'm not really sure where I was going with that. I admit it.
All right, I'll take you there. All right.
Yes.
I'm always happy to go places, right, Deems?
Absolutely.
Very happy to go places.
Sometimes he tells me where to go, though.
By the way, I see us live too.
But here's the question. You were talking earlier, and you said that you learned not to care. Well, actually, that wasn't your words, but in essence.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Now, my consideration to that, my thought pattern was, my experiences with musicians, all musicians, is that they care too much. Now, in the instance of firing that guy 2 weeks before the gig, I mean, he refused to, because he wanted perfection.
What? Oh, he's one of those people who's never quite good enough. Perhaps his father beat him too much as a child, and
I wanted to beat him, but seriously, I think that
works for me.
Oh, well, let's keep
Kidding.
it clean.
Those rumors are greatly exaggerated.
But I think that musicians sometimes care too much. I know Deems, for example. Well, he's a bassist, a bossist, whatever.
Right.
And he has has 40 years experience, yet he will not go play just to play. He has to practice and rehearse and everything. And I'm of the mindset is, you're a drummer. Tell me, could you get back on the drums and just play just freely?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I see you and I are a different mindset. I wonder if that's because we're both business people as well.
Well, you learn in business. I think there's a portion of us because we're all made up of many identities. People know you from business. They might know you from the band. They might know you from the store. How you portray yourself to the world, and I think really worrying if you're a creative person, you're going to see things in a different way than a lot of people do. Sometimes it'll be right. Sometimes it'll be wrong. Sometimes it's just going to be different. But I've noticed most musicians, artists, writers, painters. They look at things just in a funny way. It's like George O'Keeffe once said, you got to have a certain nerve about you. And I'll give you an example of that. I'm a very solutions-oriented guy. About 30 years ago, maybe longer, I was trying to get a booking in Tampa. Club called Speedy Brown's, 7th Avenue and 22nd Street. Lovely venue. I'd play there, and the young ladies would come and do lovely things against the glass, and it was just that kind of place. It was wild and crazy in the 90s. And I have a friend who played there regularly, so I'd be playing down the street, and I'd trot down there and go, hey man, introduce me to Mike, I think was his name. Can't remember now, but he kept saying, yeah. And then once at the bar, he talked, but Mike was blasted and didn't really get it. So finally, I saw that they were playing there, and I called him the Sunday after their gig, and I went, hey, yeah, this is, I can't remember his name, but this band was called The Headlights. And I said, yeah, it was the bass player. I can't think of his name now, but I'm like, yeah, this is Neve Steve from his band. And the guy goes, oh yeah, you guys were great last night. He starts going on and on about how great the gig was. I love this song. And I'm trying hard not to talk, which, as you can tell, is difficult.
Me too.
And I said to the guy, I go, look, I got these friends of mine. They're in a band called the Shake Society, and I want you to book them. The guy goes, oh, okay, tell them to call me. And so I don't call him. I go down in person, on Monday. I meet him, and I'm trying really hard not to sound like my voice. And I just went in, and I talked to him, and I go, well, I happen to have my calendar, man. I booked till the end of the year.
Wow.
Every 1 week a month till the end of the year, and the light bulb went off. And then what was funny is I kept calling my friend. He really, there was an article today about artists a lot of times have no friends. Musicians, people like that, actors, all they've got is sycophants, people who follow them around and get paid. So they get kind of into this bubble of yes to everything you say being a great idea. And I don't know, I think that in business and in a band, you have to have that ability to say, I'm going to get this no matter what I have to do. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get maybe a little beat up in the process, but I'm just going to hang tight. That band, when I told them how I got the gig, they were one guy was appalled. The rest of them were like, go Neil, man. That was great. It was a funny story, and I don't feel any particular guilt. I'm sure if our Father above has things to judge me for, that's relatively low on the scale. And I mean,
but we talked about judging before, what you talked about judging before. And your point about not worrying about what other people think was something that really I felt deeply, because unfortunately, I'm always worried.
Well, you know what? You're a good person, and good people tend to worry about things, sometimes too much. I mean, we all have traits that come from our evolution and our genetics, our parents. I mean, if you look at my daughter, myself, and my mom, I've had more people tell me when they met my mom, they're like, oh, I totally get you now, man. You're all right,
Well, not with me.
I'm like, not. I'm in this, some kind of remedial class for drummers.
You're like your mom?
Very much so. We're both very focused, and I have to say, know yourself. I can be a pain in the ass, and I
support your music career.
She supported it every way you could possibly support. I had the best band mom. I have a friend of mine who he didn't have a bass amp, so we went and rented him one so we could have our band and just get our band going, and riding me around in a car. And let me tell you, any parent out there, folks, if you have children and encourage them to play an instrument, remember, this is not just them. It's you. You guys have to support them. It's a lot of work. It's a pain in the ass driving kids and then sitting around. And you have to worry, like, I know this. My folks always, my mom knew where I was at all the time. Because for at least the first 20 years of my life, from the time I was 8 years old.
20 years?
I'm talking about early in life, though. That's all I did.
Wow.
Like, I sat and I'd read books and I played drums. And I didn't have a big network. My friends were always in the band. And it wasn't really until I've been a musician so long that I don't really know what else to do to have fun. It's like the best enjoyment. I like doing the show. It's fun, but it's a different kind of a thing. Oh, yeah. You know who the Headlights are. Roger McGuinn. Absolutely. Great band.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember their bass player's name. It's killing me because I know he just passed away. I can see his face. I can see him standing there. But yeah, sadly, the bass player passed away last year. It is the same. Tell you the truth, that he's talking about this friend of mine's band. I remember going home from an early gig, turn on Johnny Carson. There's my boys with Roger McGuinn. Everybody in Tampa, we're all like, all right. And here's another bit of trivia, Bill. I was part of the team. I was at the studio that we recorded Roger McGuinn's. All of the tunes that are on that record, we recorded and did completely killer demos for him. Those demos were presented to the record label, got him the deal. Did they keep all of our stuff to use on the record? Unfortunately, no. But I have, back in the day, spoken to Roger McGuinn about it and to the band members, and they all said that those demos had more of it was like a cohesive band playing in the studio. The record's tremendous. I think he got a Grammy for it, but that record, when it came out, put him back on the scene, making a lot of money again. So, at any rate, I'm sorry I'm answering a guest, but yeah,
okay.
Small world.
That's another thing we talked about prior to the show. Our fan base.
Mm-hmm.
You like right now you have somebody that's chiming in. We have Deems and I have a different our fans have become our family.
Sure.
Like Jody Weber. We have, I mean, we actually have, I could say that I actually love my fans.
Sure.
You were telling me about you, that you have a lady that watches you every day with her cat.
Wonderful lady. I honestly, my favorite, I love all my guests, but I have to say, Susan, I'm not going to say your last name to protect you from being associated with somebody like me. at any rate, Susan and I speak every day. We both have black and white cats, and we joke about, the cats are betrothed.
That one too.
Yeah, I know. And Brenda does too. We're all a bunch of cat freaks. So it's funny. Heavy metal bands like the band I just opened up in the show that I did the amazing amount of those guys look like they're savages. They got tattoos. They're big. And they're always looking stern and evil, trying to be scary for the heavy metal thing. And they've got cats. Like they all dig cats. There's like, it's a thing in heavy metal. A lot of the guitar players and heavy metal guys love cats. I like cats too. You know what? I'm the kind of guy, I like all animals. I prefer them to most people that I run into on the day-to-day out in civilian life. I mean, even my cats, people say, you can't train a cat. You can train a cat all kinds of things,
Well, Deems just talks to them. I like them because they're independent.
Yes.
Right now, Deems is taking care of one of our rescues, which is another sideline we have. But yeah, it's cool. I love seeing pictures of your cats too.
Well, thank you. It's one of those things. There's people in life. Some people are all dog or all cat, or some people like ferrets, which to me, having a weasel just skeeves me, man. Having that thing and they smell bad, and having that thing running around my house, I'd be like, let's go get a couple of glue sticks, and get rid of this goddamn thing. What is it doing in my bedroom, Wake up, it's like the stuff of nightmares. God, man, Jesus. Okay. And I'm not too skeeved out by much, but weasels, and I had a snake once that bit my leg while driving down the road out of my parents' yard the first time I drove their van that was brand new. I slowly wound into the fence at 3 miles an hour and stopped, screaming, put the thing in park, and then my dad came running down the driveway, whipped open the door, and was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I said, "Snake!" I'd already banged my head on the lid of the ceiling when it bit me. Then it bit me a few more times. The whole time I'm literally having a panic attack. Like, so, of course, after this, my dad's yelling at me. He's a military guy. He's looking at me. He goes, remain calm. I'm looking at him. I'm like, do I fucking look calm? So I got the snake's head in my hand, and I'm looking at it. They tell you that if a snake has a round eye, it's non-poisonous. This snake, to me, looked like it had a cross between an ellipsoid eye like a cat and a round one. So I wasn't real sure whether it was ellipsoid or round with all that adrenaline flowing. I'm shaking. I backed the van up, and I looked at it, and I realized it is a safe snake. It's a corn snake.
Okay.
About this long. Very friendly snakes. People take them for pets. Good to have around. Keep the rats down. Not good to have hanging on your leg. It felt like a small dog chewing on me. And I got to tell you, it's the wonder I didn't soil myself. I literally had almost my heart stop from it. And I will tell you something. Ever since that, and this is 40-some years later, if I'm driving in a car and something rolls out from under the seat, say there's a soda can or something, right? I will be startled, like to the point where my friends will chuckle and be like, snake? I'm not afraid. If I saw a snake coming after me and it was non-poisonous, I'll grab it. It's not like a fear thing psychically, but just that remembrance of not paying attention to something bumping my leg. Because I felt something before it bit me, and I just was like, oh, I just bumped my leg on something. Well, when something hits your leg, you better look, because it just might be a snake. Welcome to my world, you know?
I don't think I'd like that either. But let's get back to music. I want to talk about you with your blue. What was that? Blue.
The Blue Men Group.
Tell everybody about your experience.
Well, I was a 40-year-old guy. I had a young bride, my child bride, as we like to call her, and I got the opportunity. It's kind of a long story, but I'll keep it short. I worked for Muzak. And I had a life-changing deal that I sold, a huge multi-location deal, computer company, cameras, music, all this crap. And it was a life-changing deal, big deal. So that night, my boss says, come on up to the room. We're going out tonight. It was my birthday, of all things, 2001. I still remember it perfectly. It was the September 9th, the day before 9/11, the 10th is the day before 9/11. So this is 1 year later, and we're out in Vegas. I don't know where we're going. So I go up to his suite. I'm thinking, when he tells me there's going to be a limo downstairs, I'm thinking, yeah, bullshit. There'll be a cab sitting down there, some stinky, there'll be some Filipino guy with weird religious icons on the dashboard. But no, he'd go up to the room. He got all his food, pile it in the limo, go like 5 blocks down the street to the pyramid. I don't remember what it was called then. The Luxor, excuse me. And the Blue Man Group's playing. And so what happens was my boss would have a habit of putting me on the spot until he knew I could actually play and do my thing well. Like in New Orleans, he did it with a jazz band. He goes, you're going to go down there. I was a new hire. He goes, I want to hear if you're any good. I was like, okay. I went down. I ended up playing the rest of the hour for the guys. Drummer got a break. I had some fun. So Dino tells these guys, they bring somebody up on the stage every show, every night. And there's 3 blue guys, and there's a 4th drum position. Red, yellow, blue, and then a green one for the guest. Usually they bring up somebody who's a civilian who walks up and there's first pair of drumsticks they've ever held in their life. So it's kind of funny and it's entertaining when you watch the show. Well, I got up there, and I'm like, I'm not really afraid of anything when it comes to just going out and playing or something, I was like, all right, this is going to be great fun. And I went out, and I just started hot dogging it, When I started playing, and they could see that I could actually play rudiments, but there's paint splashing all over. I'm covered in paint. And then I started banging on their drums and elbowing them, and we were, like, having fun, because it's all mime. So, like, when I started tearing it up, the guys would stand there and they'd both look at me like real stern with that blue face. And then they'd look at the audience and look at me. And then they're doing this kind of stuff, doing all these mime things. So I have a great time. Wonderful night. We end up at the new, it was Wynn, beautiful place. And I go home and I'm like, God, that was great fun. That was like the best, coolest. If you're a drummer, being in Blue Man is like the best place to be alive. So
Vegas. I mean,
yeah, well, here's the deal. My
funny.
kids were in their junior and senior year of high school. I just got married and gone through a divorce like 2 years prior. I couldn't take my kids out of school and haul ass to Vegas because I was offered a gig out in Vegas. Said, I'm sorry, but my kids are in school. They've been in the same school their whole life. I'm just not. I mean, the divorce, I tried to stick around, but it wasn't doing my wife or me any favors by us continuing to be miserable together, and it just didn't work. I had the 21-year-old plan, so it happened at 16, which was one of those things. But after that, I went back to music.
Well, let me elaborate on what you just said for a minute.
Sure.
As far as musicians, I mean, sometimes we feel guilty because of the life we've chosen, which takes us away from our family on
Sure.
weekends, on holidays, we miss weddings.
Sure.
Right now we're doing funerals, but I mean,
I've been playing funerals since I was about 10, literally.
We did our first funerals a while ago, so
Isn't that the first one so weird? I mean, I was a kid. I was like, what the hell are we doing at a funeral?
I know. Well, it's turned out to be a good thing, but I thought you said something about not being able to do that. I think there's a lot of things that musicians actually give up in their life for the public, and I don't think that actually the public really understands or realizes the amount of energy that we give up for them.
It almost some people, my ex included, would say you can be remarkably selfish, and I get it. In fact, looking back on my own life, I absolutely when you're young, and I've been playing music since I was a kid, and that was all I ever wanted to do. And in fairness to her, all she wanted to do was marry some guy who worked at the plant and made a good living, and I made a good living, but because I chose music, nobody chooses music to get wealthy. People,
that's not. I disagree with you.
There's some people who that's their whole goal because they like the people who worship money. They don't realize the work though to really be good. Like to sing like Whitney Houston. Not only do you have to know how to sing, you have to have the voice there. And there's a lot of people I see in today's world that I know this. I got into music to play, entertain, have fun, and make good music. And cash and income follows that. If you're dedicated and diligent and you're not fooling yourself, you look in the mirror and honestly go, hey, my show is good on these things, not good on these, and you work at it. Like you hire a band. Everybody in your band's not always the guy you want, but they're the guy that you need. And I will hire somebody over their personality, over their playing ability anytime.
Really?
If somebody's really decent and they just aren't, say they're a semi-professional trying to make it into a working A-class band, people have to be teachable. If you have teachable people come into the band, if they have a good spirit to work with, if you look at them and go, hey man, I know I'm the drummer and you hate hearing me tell you your bass is out of tune, but tune your fucking bass.
Yeah, well,
that's the kind of thing. But when I was younger, I used to be a bit like that. Nowadays, I would just look around the room and go, somebody's out of tune, man. Guys, check your tuning. Because I used to just think, I'm a fucking drummer, and I'm Full Sail grad, and I know more than they do. Fuck you, But you can't be like that. Nobody want to work with you, and that's really all of these things that I say. I have rules, very few, and I have guidelines. If somebody's an asshole, it's an absolute rule. I don't want to work with them.
Me too.
If they're complainers, they're always late. I can give you the list of things. If they bring their boyfriend or girlfriend to rehearsal more than once. Because it won't happen because I'm pretty nasty about it. I'm better now, but I'd say to my guy, why is she here? I like you. You're a nice girl, but go home. We're in a practice, and when it's all guys, we're pretty rude to each other. I mean, it's not a place for the fairer sex when we're killing each other, going, fuck off, that you're playing it wrong or whatever.
Now, wait a minute.
But let me say this.
Now, wait a minute. You're coming from a sexist point of view now.
I made a sexist point, but there's a point to it.
Yeah, okay, but there are more women musicians today than there ever have been.
There's more women musicians being trained, physicians, lawyers, accountants,
Exactly.
guys nowadays, especially white dudes, we're just like, we're so passe. I mean, how can I tell you? I'm an evil white man. I don't know. But you know, the thing about it is the women who make it in the business don't make it because they're just, you know, using their body or their hair or whatever. They make it because they're better at the boys' game than some of the boys. Because otherwise, the boys don't fucking like them. Boys are going to sit back and go, they're going to have two reactions. One is, I really want to sleep with this chick. You got multiply that times 4 or 5 guys in a band. Then multiply it to the one guy who might get lucky. And then you got 4 people who hate him, hate his guts. Then you have band practices where somebody yells at the girlfriend and somebody gets snitty about it. And then me being band dictator, I go, take that home, get a motel.
Yeah, to that point, I've seen a girl destroy like a band like almost instantly gone in with that same very thing. And the trouble was, this girl was actually talented and could have stood on her own without doing the other stuff.
Well, you know, there's a guitar player that we had on. Her name will come to me. She's a young lady, 23. Oh, God, what's her name? I'd have to look at the show list, but I'm going to have her back. She's 23 years old, Harvard guitar class online. Plays like Joe Satriani, Jeff Beck. Really, I mean, just a ridiculous player. Good, better than any. I'd hire her tomorrow, and I'd hire her for one reason. Not because she's a chick. She's so fucking good. I want her up there because everybody in the audience is going to look and go, damn, that is an amazing player. A well-done band you have got to have in the traditional rock and roll. You have just got to have a drop-dead ridiculous guitar player. And if you don't, it hinders you because everybody expects it in rock and roll. Playing rhythm is okay, but...
To that point, I mean, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
There has to be a certain synergy with players. You can have an absolutely perfect guitar player, wonderful drummer, but if he doesn't connect with your bassist, your bosses, whatever you want to call it, you've got nothing.
Good bass.
Good bass.
Good bass. The bassomatic.
You gotta have the whole thing. Now, you know, I interview groups. That's what I do. And I'm always looking for talent. I just right now put an ad out. A young man, he's like 13 or so, actually contacted me and I promoted him, but I will not sign him because this boy is so good. He has an opportunity where he could go to Berkeley, and continue his education and come out and drop dead, kick them all. You know,
that's kind of what I told my kids. If you want to be in music, get your college, get your life set up, and then play all you want. My daughter, the youngest one, kind of got aggravated with me because she has an amazing voice. When she was 5, she sang Annie live on a headset mic, and some troll behind me goes, that girl's not singing that. She's playing with the tape. Man, I turned around. I was like,
yeah, we've had that.
I looked around. I said to her, I go, that's my daughter, and she is definitely not lip syncing, you turd. No, I didn't say that.
No, not to us. I mean, seriously. But here's my point. I don't want that young boy playing in bar bands all his
for the rest of his life. Exactly right. Go get a degree at Harvard. You'll have a business degree. You'll know how to market yourself. You'll know how to do all kinds of things.
Absolutely. And that's, you and I both have been promoting that pretty much on our shows.
Absolutely.
And on our websites. But yeah, so I don't mean to digress, but I think there has to be a certain cohesion with musicians, like right now with Deems.
Right.
You could put Deems in any band, any place, because he's been around for 40 years. Was one of the first bands to play at the casinos, bandstands, and he is totally talented. But he cannot work with me.
Well, you know what?
But that is why people watch us, because we actually, the synergy between us is so different that it's fun. But now, have you ever worked with anybody yourself on a one-on-one basis, Neil?
Absolutely.
And
Many people.
talk about it a little bit. How was it? Just a duo.
Well, just playing out as a duo.
Yeah.
I like it. It's you play something I found for decades. I said I'm not playing any damn coffee shop. I need to play in a room that's got at least 200-300 people in there. I'm not doing it. And that was a rule, which now became kind of a guideline. I find that people in coffee shops, they go there to hear the music and they pay much better attention to you. If you're in a duo and I'm sitting there with a conga and I got a great guitar player and we can both sing, it's great fun. It's easy. You don't have to hassle with people getting jealous over the girl singer or any of that crap. It's just two people. And if you do a duo, like in fact, my band, the Shake Society, when we would do sometimes just as a trio, rather than having a saxophone player, a second guitar player, all this extra shit. And we'd just sit out and I'd play a conga, sit on a cajon, but we'd play all those rock and roll songs, because I'm an aggressive drummer, and nobody told me that you don't play a conga and beat the damn hell out of it like you do a drum kit for playing Led Zeppelin songs. Different level of finesse to it. Different level of getting your hands adjusted to playing a leather thing and beating it. My friend Goombi Ortiz is the conga player for Al Di Meola. You shake hands with Goombi, and he could make you cry. Even if you're a tough guy, big hand. His hands are so strong from 50 years of beating on congas, I think he could break a piece of wood if he hit it. Because you can get a big blister sheared right across your hand that's like,
We'll have to interview him someday.
I've had him on the show several times, and it's about time to have him on again because he's the character. And Al Di Meola is going on tour. They're playing a world tour next year and playing the entire Elegant Gypsy album, which is just going to kick ass.
Wow, that's...
go ahead.
I'm going to throw a barb out there for me. I'm also a promoter for Banner Records.
Right.
And we have Magdalena Tull is finally coming to the U.S.
Excellent.
But it's another thing too. One of my she's an equal. She's an equal. She's a great, talented musician, and she said to me, "Why are we not hiring local people and bringing people in from abroad?" And I said to her, because there's talent. Yes, there's talent everywhere. But when you hit that certain talent of that,
you get to New York, LA, or Miami, and if you're not a certain level, you're going to realize that's why you always have to be realistic in your skin. Guys, I have to say, believe it or not, we are at the end of our show. I canceled 2 commercials. And I'm going to play one right now because I have a customer of mine. But guys, thanks you for being on. I'd love to have you back on, but I do have to pay the bills.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime. We'll talk again. We'll see each other, I'm sure, soon. So great to have both of you. Guys, we're out of here. I'm going to play commercial. This is a friend of mine. You want to buy this CD, people.
There's some changes headed, like the Gulf Stream rising, like some gale that's been blowing off this wild bird island shore. And I can't say where, and I don't know when, but some old door's been opened in the restless shade. Poor man sagging cigarette takes the subway home.
Excellent.
Bye-bye, everybody. We're still here.